Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Buckeye Blitz podcast. I'm your host, Chad Stryker. Thanks for taking some time out of your day to join me today. Apologies on not getting a Q&A Tuesday podcast out yesterday. Been just kind of, that time of year where we're busy with baseball. So my son plays baseball and I help coach. So sorry, but we are back. We are live. We are ready to rock, and great to be with all of you again. So really, this is just going to be a little bit of a different format today. I decided to kind of do a recap of the spring game. I also rewatched the spring game, so I was there live. I hope you were able to check out some of the content I put on our Facebook page at the Buckeye Blitz podcast. So if you got a chance to see that, you know that I had an opportunity to watch Carnell Tate do some drills early and some route running, and it was great. He looks the part, looks good. Noah Rogers looks good. Caleb Brown looked good. So there was a lot that I took from, and then I tried to put those 30-second video clips out on our Facebook page. So if you haven't had a chance, take a look at that. So the spring game is over. Spring practice is over. There's a lot to think about and talk about. But what I want to get into today really was what I saw live. And I will say that, I take everything in the spring game with kind of a grain of salt. I remember how worked up everybody got when Justin Fields a few years ago went like 4 for 13 in the spring game. And, I think everybody was kind of like, whoa, what's this? What's going on? What are we going to do? And that turned out all right. So I think we're going to be okay. I thought McCord, I'll start with Kyle McCord, looked uneasy in the first drive. So I think, first time in front of the shoe, that kind of a crowd at the Horseshoe with that kind of pressure since the Akron start, it just looked like he had a little nerves. There were 75,000-ish people there. A lot of really high prospect type kids there. Ran into Cardale and DeVere Posey, and I saw Kirk Barton. There was a lot of folks there in and around my area where I was sitting, so that was cool. But so, kind of getting into what I saw with McCord, like I said, I thought he looked uneasy early in the game, seemed significantly more comfortable when Marvin Harrison Jr. was in there. They were there. A lot of his yardage really came. I think one of the 60-yarders was to Marvin Harrison Jr. So he definitely had that. You could tell there was a difference in the offense. And I will go back to when we played against Georgia and Marv got knocked out. Same concept, same kind of thing. The offense changed when Marvin wasn't in there, and you have to consider too that Emeka Egbuka and Julian Fleming, neither one were playing. So when you remove them, and then so you've got, I think Kojo Antwi had a couple catches. Jane Ballard had a really nice catch, and he had a few catches. There was a few drops. Carnell Tate had a touchdown, but when you remove Marvin Harrison Jr., who just seemingly whenever he is on the field is open. That definitely changed the dynamic of the offense. They weren't tackling Mayan Williams. They did tackle Dallin Hayden. So those are the kind of things that, when you're looking at the spring game, if you get a chance to watch it, you're going to see that stuff. So I say all that to say that, McCord looked okay. That's going to be where I land with that. I just thought he looked okay. I'll dive a little bit more into that in a moment. I wanted to talk a little bit though. I did get I kind of walked down to the front rail to watch Carnell Tate run some routes, and he looks like the next man up. I mean, everybody's been saying that in spring, but he really has that look. He made a few plays. He's still raw, but he's what I would say is the most polished of the early enrollees for this freshman class. Noah Rogers looked pretty good. No, I'm not dissing him at all. But of the kids that came in right now, looks the most polished. Brandon Ennis will be in this summer, and a lot of people think that he'll just jump in and be ready to go. But you just never know. You just don't know. So I didn't, obviously what I saw from Carnell Tate The thing I would remind people, when I talk about being a little raw still, he should still be in his second half of his senior year of high school. So he enrolled early. He should technically be graduating high school in, another month. So, take that with you as you go. There were 5 or so drops that happened with Kyle McCord. So his numbers weren't as bad as I think people thought that they were. There was a couple times where he just had immediate pressure, like the Cody Simon came up the middle once and it like almost untouched. JT Tulimoloau plowed over Josh Fryer a couple times. There were some times where he just was forced to roll out and throw the ball away. He did, from my perspective, move around well enough in the pocket, and he pulled the ball, I think, twice. I watched him do a zone read pull. One was not successful, but I think Tigger Shabola was in at right tackle, just got absolutely destroyed. It was like 5 yards in the backfield when McCord tried to pull the ball. And during the game, I was trying to, as I was watching him, come up with a comparison because, we all love to do that. We love to compare kids and, to people that we're familiar with and a lot of people had said, well, he's big, but he's not quite, this person, or he's not quite that person. And he's mobile-ish. And what I kind of walked back to was actually when Ben Roethlisberger was at the Miami of Ohio. That's actually kind of who Kyle McCord reminds me of. He does just enough to break the defensive back with his feet, and he moves around just well enough to extend the play. He's not Josh Allen, he's not Patrick Mahomes, but if I was going to draw a comparison off of what I saw live, and I've seen him, twice now with the Akron game and now the spring game, Ben Roethlisberger is who comes to mind. So, take that for what you will. Maybe people, at the end of the season will say, hey, you were nuts. I don't think that that's right. I'll own it if that's the case, but we'll see. So if I'm, being totally honest, moving on to like the wide receivers, you know, I thought that before I move on to the wide receivers, excuse me, I thought Kyle McCord had a real chance to separate himself from Devin Brown Saturday at the spring game. Brown was on the shelf with that broken pinky finger. He's got a pin inserted in it. It's on his throwing hand. So he could have really, really came out. And maybe that's why, to me, he seemed not super comfortable, just jittery, and maybe that's why, but I kind of felt like he blew it a little bit. I hate to say that, but it was just a spring game. It wasn't, we're not talking about Notre Dame or anything like that, but yeah, gosh, he just had a shot, and I thought that, would have been nice to see him take that next step. Interesting things of note, Jaden Ballard did the primary punt returning. So I did take note of that. And at the right tackle position, Zen Mahalski came out first with the one. So when the first team offense came out with Kyle McCord, Mahalski was the first one. But the very next series, Tigger Shabola was in and rotated in, and the snaps were more or less 50-50. Honestly, they need to get in the portal. I'm just being honest. Like I wanted those guys to come around and be the next thing. But Tigger Shabola looks out of position to me. They probably need to move him back into guard. And they either need to get in the portal or take a look at like Luke Montgomery and see if he could play the position, because and I know he's a true freshman, but what I saw was not to standard. Carson Hinsman looked fine. I didn't notice anything odd with him. I didn't notice anything off. I didn't think anything about it. I thought he played well, and I think he'll be ready to rock by the fall. Josh Fryer got his feet tangled up a couple times at left tackle. I know that's something everybody's paying attention to. JT Tuimoloau did have a couple pressures, but I thought overall he held his own. And in my mind, how many defenses are you going to face that have Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, Kenyatta Jackson, Amari Abor, and some of these other guys coming off the edge at you, Caden Curry? Not a lot. So probably Michigan is the one that comes to mind, and maybe Penn State. But for a level of competition type thing, I thought Josh Fryer did pretty well. If I was going to grade him, I'd put him at like a B minus. I think he'll grow into the position. I think he switched sides, and I thought that's the sum of what I saw. Quite honestly, it looked like he's still getting his movement together from moving from the right side to the left side. So, but he'll be fine. He's going to be fine. That's going to be fine. My biggest concern, and we all knew it, and we've talked about it, and the right tackle position is not up to the standards at Ohio State that we have. So, as far as that goes, I thought, okay, we're good. We'll stay with that. If I was going to grade the overall offensive line play, I'd probably put it at like a C plus. I would like to see them hold their blocks a little longer. I thought that there was a couple times at the running, when they did run the ball, Mayan Williams could have hit a couple home runs. And then Chip Trainium did hit a home run. Dallin Hayden looked good, but Trainium looks like he honestly reminds me of Beanie Wells. Like watching that kid run, man, he's big, he's strong, he's fast. They need to find a way to get him the ball and use him if he continues to stay hot like this. They didn't, like I said, they didn't tackle Mayan. They did tackle Dallin. They tackled Trainum. I did see Evan Pryor and Travion Henderson both were in full pads and warmed up. They both looked good. They looked well, I thought, overall. So now that said, I liked what I saw out of the defense a lot. So I will start in the secondary. Josh Proctor got a lot of run early. Kai Stokes made some big plays. Like he jumped a couple routes and it was really impressive. Lathan Ransom was all over the field like you'd expect. The defensive line absolutely looks to be on the up and up. Kenyatta Jackson is as advertised, as I've talked about. He really, really looked good. I would joke that if you designed a defensive lineman in Madden, that's probably what Kenyatta Jackson would look like. Hero Canoe got in the backfield a couple times against the second team defensive line. So he even, I think he had a sack. So the overall, I thought the defense played well. They had several pass breakups. They were right there. And even if there was a completion, except to Marv, they were right there. And I think they were playing off of Marv so that he didn't get dinged up. Quite honestly, you don't want to take a chance with hurting Marvin Harrison Jr. So I thought that was pretty good to see. Jaden Fielding missed a field goal. Parker Lewis made his field goal. If you wanted me to compare legs, Jaden Fielding has a better leg, but Parker Lewis looks like, he's going to be the next guy. Austin Siebert, as much as I hate to see it, is in the transfer portal. So he'll make somebody a great kicker down the line. Jesse Mirko looks like Jesse Mirko from a special teams perspective. So I thought everything, if I went into the game and I was looking for something and I was trying to, if you wanted me to pick on something, CJ Hicks and Cody Simon got a lot of run at linebacker because, Tommy's out and then Steele is walking around on crutches. So, Cody Simon played really well, like really well. I thought that he looks super comfortable, and he was, moving sideline to sideline well. And I had to kind of remind myself of like who it was I was watching. And then CJ Hicks again looks fast, looks competent. I watched him, but I didn't watch him, as closely as I watched some of the defensive line play because I was curious. Tyleik Williams looked like his stamina is up. Michael Hall Jr. Every time I turned around, that guy was in the backfield. So, and then Reed Carrico had down Hayden dead to rights in the backfield on a play, and Hayden just ran through him and ran through the tackle. But it was good to see Reed Carrico on the field. But other than that, Denzel Burke looks great. Davison Igbinosun, holy cow! So one of my friends that came with me to the game, and he'll be on the podcast coming up here probably this weekend. Is I pointed out that number 20 was not Sonny Styles, that Sonny Styles had moved to number 6, and he wanted to make sure I was correct because Igbinosun is big and plays physical and looks like Sonny Styles. And there was a couple runs down the sideline when I saw Igbinosun come over and he was going to nudge the guy out of bounds, and like he put his helmet in there and was ready to make a play. So I was really happy with how the defensive played. I thought the scheme looked good. The run by Chip Tranium late, against some of the second team folks, I'm not, it is what it is. But it was a big run, and it's one of those ones when you flash back to Michigan, that can't happen long term. However, I don't think that it will. I think that the defense looks more settled, and everybody seemed like they were in the place they were supposed to be. I didn't see Jim Knowles jumping up and down or crawling all over anybody. I did see a few times, Brian Hartline absolutely getting all over a couple of the receivers. One of them, Caleb Brown was on a crossing route. He probably could have gotten a first down if he'd have just, carried it upfield a little bit more. But his under route was short of the line of gain. So, and then ended up getting tackled short of the first down. So, coachable moments, teachable moments, a lot of growth. The team looked, overall, the positions that we are concerned about or we're concerned about on the defense seem to be solidified. I do think they need to go into portal and probably pick up another corner, like just as like a depth piece. And I think they need to pick up a depth piece at defensive tackle. Tyleik Williams, Ty Hamilton, and Michael Hall Jr. look good. Hero Canoe, when I saw him, looked good, but at the same time, if one of those guys goes down, then you're rotating 3 defensive tackles and not 4. I think it would be good to have 5 defensive tackles that can play in a game this year. Just being honest, that's where I would like to be. I think the defensive ends are set. You have Caden Curry, Jack Sawyer, JTT, and Kenyatta Jackson. I did see Amari Abor out there too. He looks like he's ready to, for some playing time. And I actually think they could move him into the 3 technique, quite honestly. And like I said, with Jack Sawyer, I think it would be really neat to have, like, let's say Caden Curry, Jack Sawyer, Mike Hall Jr., and JT Tuimoloau as like a rushman package. And then you could also substitute Amari Abor in there with Kenyatta Jackson, however you want to line that up. But I do think that would be really cool to see on defense. Jordan Hancock looked back to his old self. He played well, mentioning more corners. Other than that, I walked away feeling really good about the defense. Of course, the defense won the day as well. And Gray beat Scarlet. And my last little point here, and I missed this in my show notes until just now. Tristan Gebbia can sling it, man. So for a guy that hasn't been here very long and came from Oregon State, he was in Nebraska and then Oregon State, and now he's at Ohio State, and he's our 3rd string quarterback. He's got a Power 5. He has Power 5 offers for a reason. The kid can sling it. He's pretty mobile. He's tall. He's taller than I thought. And he can move the pocket. He can move well. And the team really seemed to, respond to him. And he moved the ball better than McCord did in the first initial few drives in the first quarter. So he did miss on some throws, and the throws he missed were long and high. So I don't know. I was more watching the separation with the wide receivers at that point than I was watching his feet. I was more in tune when McCord was throwing and watching his feet and his throwing motion than I was with Jebbia. Um, so that could just be a timing thing too. He did have it might have been Kojo Antwi streaking down towards the corner of the end zone, and he had a couple steps and he just flat out overthrew him. And Antwi also stopped. I don't know why he did that. If you watch the game, he just kind of stops and jumps at the ball. If he'd run through the ball, he might have had a better shot at it. So, maybe he was trying to draw a penalty, but yeah, run through the ball if you see this, Kojo. And other than that, that's it for me today. I appreciate you guys listening, taking some time out of your day. I enjoyed doing this. I enjoyed the spring game. It was a beautiful day, a lot of fun. Thanks to my brother Ryan. First time ever at the spring game, so I think he enjoyed it. We sat in the Huntington Club, which is always wonderful, always a great experience, and very comfortable. And they do such a good job at the Horseshoe with that kind of stuff. So until next time, which will be probably Friday, Buckeye Friday, we'll be back, and I'll be answering a couple of questions. I actually have a pile of questions I'm trying to get through. And they continue to pile up. So I'm trying, and a couple of them are very similar in nature. So I may read them both and kind of answer them both at the same time. But until then, you guys have a great week. Stay warm, stay dry, enjoy the weather if you can. See ya. Go Bucks.